Serious spoiler alerts. Oh my gosh. I should put a spoiler alert at the beginning of this video. Oh my gosh. Okay. I don't know what happened with my makeup, but this is what it looks like today, so we're going with it. Before we start this video, I'd like to just say that I did some preliminary research into this topic, and I just want to say this is not an original thought. Many people share this opinion. Nothing about me is original. Enjoy the video anyway. Hi, and welcome back to another video. This time I'm going to talk about the Netflix original movie Tall Girl versus Lovely Complex. I don't know my directions. I don't know my left from my right. This is gonna be interesting. Hey, I finished watching Tall Girl, or kind of a third of the way through Tall Girl. The thought on my mind was, Tall Girl is essentially Lovely Complex, except Lovely Complex did it better. For those of you who don't know, Tall Girl is, like I said, a Netflix original movie that follows Jodie, who is 6'1" and has size 13 shoes. Men's. She makes it very clear what shoe size she wears. And she's very tall, and she's plagued by how tall she is, because whenever someone expresses interest in her, and then they find out how tall she is, they're suddenly not interested in her. And she happens to have a best friend, a male best friend, who is short. And he carries around an apple crate for reasons we don't know until the end. He basically just follows her as she complains about being tall. Her best friend's name is Jack, except so as soon as he was introduced, all I could think of was Ducky from Pretty in Pink. Like, I don't know why, but Dunkerberg, Dinkle Biggin Higginson, I don't know his last name, but all I could think of and all I could see was Ducky from Pretty in Pink. So I was like having this weird thing where I was like, Lovely Complex on one half and the other side was Pretty in Pink, and my brain was like, what's going on? But yeah, if you have heard anything about Tall Girl, you would know it gets a lot of flack for trying to scrape the bottom of the barrel of finding some sort of like oppression that a tall, pretty white girl might have. And all Netflix could come up with was the fact that she was tall. Anyway, the point of this video is not to drag on Tall Girl entirely, but to compare it to Lovely Complex. So, for those of you who don't know, Lovely Complex is an anime and a manga that follows Koizumi Risa, who is a tall girl, and her best friend, Otani, who is a short boy. Does this sound familiar? And it follows both Risa and Otani as they struggle with the complexes that their heights give them. She struggles with being super tall, and he struggles with being super short. Now, I obviously love Lovely Complex. It is my absolute favorite anime of all time. I don't care if you disagree with me. I love it. I think it's funny, I think it's lighthearted, and it's way better than Tall Girl. I wanted to talk about why Tall Girl fails while Lovely Complex succeeds. First of all, Tall Girl emphasizes only Jodie's height. Which, okay, it's called Tall Girl. It's focusing on the tall girl, but I feel like they lose a lot by not addressing Jack's height as well. And it's also really weird because, like, I know that this is the complaint that literally everyone who's ever seen the movie or, like, made a review on the movie says, but, like, where are all the tall boys? Like, is it the kind of school where it's like you must be this tall or shorter to apply? Like, especially for the guys? Like, even from my experience in high school, okay, one time I was walking down the hallway with a guy who was 6'6" on one side and a guy who was 6'5" on the other, and I felt extremely short. And like, yeah, those are very tall guys, but like, tall guys exist in high schools. So like, it didn't make much sense. Like, I'm not that tall of a girl, I'm just kind of average, but like, tall guys exist in high schools in Louisiana. So like, that it's just such a weird thing of like, no one else in that school is tall, only she is. And like, I don't know, it's just really weird. But because of that, they really emphasize her height. And like I said, I think that they lose something by only emphasizing on her height, like having her height be the only problem. Because in Lovely Complex, it emphasizes both of their heights. And for me, I think the context of Lovely Complex makes a little more sense as well, because obviously it takes place in Japan. And being a tall girl in Japan is kind of a bigger deal than being a tall girl kind of, you know, especially in the West or in Louisiana, like in tall girl. Like, being tall in Louisiana and a girl is not as absurd or unusual as being a tall girl in Japan, you know? Like, given that context and like understanding that sort of stuff, like, makes it a little more reasonable that like she would be a little more plagued by her height than Jody. But Lovely Complex also focuses on Otani and his height. He is short. And if you've ever met a short guy, you would understand that like he has a little bit more trouble than tall girls, especially anyway. Guys will kind of be like, her height doesn't matter as much, but girls, it's like, if you're not 6'3" and taller, you're not even an option. Like, so I guess for me, in my experience, being a short guy is a little bit more like melodramatic or a little bit more serious of an issue than being a tall girl. And Lovely Complex includes Otani's height. They also emphasize like the struggles he has as a short guy. And I think Tall Girl would have benefited from that, like exploring Jack and his height. Like, he's a short dude, you know? Like, exploring that a little more, as opposed to him being a short guy being into a tall girl who refuses to date short guys. Like, I understand that, but like, expand upon it a little more, maybe, and maybe emphasize it a little more, because it's basically, he's just kind of trying to convince her that height doesn't matter so that he can get what he wants, I guess. Had they just, you know, emphasized the short boy struggles a little more, there might have been a little bit more substance to Tall Girl than there currently is. The reason why Tall Girl fails in comparison is Jody's personality is literally to be tall. Like, that's all there is to her. They try to make her, you know, kind of a quirky girl who likes musicals and she reads and she plays piano, but like, that's really weird. Okay. Because she's tall, she has big hands, and so she's good at playing piano, but she doesn't want to do anything that like emphasizes that she's tall. So she doesn't play piano, I guess. I don't know. They tried to give her interests and like tried to give her some sort of personality. That didn't work. Like, she's literally just tall. That is Jody's personality. Those are Jody's interests. She is tall. And that's the end of her. In Lovely Complex, there's a little bit more. They're actually, as I stumble through that word, actually, they're actual characters. They have more to them. Like, and as the series progresses, Risa gets a lot more, you know, she gains some more interest. Risa's the funny girl, as I'm spitting everywhere. She's the funny girl. She's, you know, she's the kidster. She falls asleep at assemblies and during class, and she gets in trouble, and she makes everyone laugh, and, you know, there's more to her. She's interested in fashion. She helps people out with their fashion, and, you know, like, she's really into umibozu, and, like, she has a lot more to her than just being tall. And, like, she plays dating simulating games, and, like, there's so much more to her than what Jody has to her. Like, yes, Risa is tall, but she also possesses a lot of other characteristics, unlike our lovely Jody, who just kind of is tall, and that's the end of it. Like, hi, I'm Jody, my personality is tall like my height. Like, that's the end of it. So that's another reason why Tall Girl fails. Is Tall Girl is literally just tall. That's the end of it. There's also the difference between Tall Girl and Lovely Complex in that Risa is pursuing Otani, rather than in Tall Girl where Jack is pursuing Jody. But Jack is kind of weird and creepy about it. Like, I don't know. I think you could probably argue that Risa is creepy and weird about it as well, but that's kind of her personality as well. Not to give excuses, because, like, there are some problematic things in Lovely Complex as well, but, like, I don't know. They go about it in a funny way, and they actually show, like, Risa's struggle and her development of, like, oh, I'm into a guy that's shorter, but his height doesn't matter. It matters who he is. I like Otani, so what, he's short. And because because she's pursuing him, he's the one who's trying to get used to the idea of a taller girl being into him. And one of the funny scenes is like, we would have to kiss. How would that even work? You know, so it's like they mention those things, and so I think this is a good segue into the stupid apple crate thing that in Tall Girl Jack carries around, and you don't know why. Well, I figured it out like probably a third into the movie. I was like, oh, that's why. And it might be because I've seen Lovely Complex, and Lovely Complex actually does a pretty good job of, like, being creative about how, like, a tall girl and a short boy would kiss. But I guess this whole video is kind of spoiler alerts, but it's revealed at the end that the reason he carries around an apple crate or an apple box the entire time is because he was waiting for the day that he could set it down to stand on it to be taller than Jody so he could kiss her. Oh my gosh, isn't it romantic when guys think that they're entitled to you? They don't do that in Lovely Complex. They, like, yeah, they talk about that, oh, it'd be so awkward to kiss, you know, someone who's, you know, being the short guy, kissing a girl super tall, like, taller than you. They talk about it, and they make it awkward and funny and weird, but then, like, they make it so normal. Like, spoiler alerts if you haven't seen Lovely Complex, but there's a scene where they're going down the steps and he stops several steps above her, so when she turns around he can just kiss her. Like, hey, that's clever. They're also in a relationship at that point. Serious spoiler alerts. Oh my gosh. I should put a spoiler alert at the beginning of this video. Oh my gosh. Okay. But, like, they don't resort to super cheesy and kind of creepy tactics like carrying around an apple crate, claiming that that's your backpack when really you're just waiting for her. It's so creepy. It's creepy. It's creepy. I'm sorry. It's creepy. It's like, no. No, thank you. Even if I was thinking of kissing you then, I'm definitely not kissing you now. That's weird. It's very entitled of you. Moving on. The reason I think Tall Girl fails is that Lovely Complex very much emphasizes the friendship between Risa and Otani. Like, there's an entire plot line of Risa trying to prioritize, like, does she value their friendship more than her feelings? And so there's very much this, like, foundational base of friendship, and they make it very obvious throughout the show. Tall Girl, it's almost like in passing that they mention that Jack is her best friend, because the movie just kind of focuses more on her pursuing bad Swedish accent man and Jack waiting on the sidelines for her to realize that she deserves better. And not only does she deserve better, but she deserves him. Whereas, like, Lovely Complex, like, you know they're friends. And you know they're compatible. And, like, and they include, like, how much Risa and Otani are struggling with, like, could we be more than friends? Do we want to jeopardize our friendship? And I think that makes Lovely Complex just a little more interesting than Tall Girl, just because, like I said, I feel like Jack was just kind of an in-passing friend. Also, can I just say, I don't remember her name. It's like Farida Faray? The, black girl for diversity points. For a movie in Louisiana, there are not that many black people. Just saying. I am just saying. But, like, the best friend, the actual best friend, the girl best friend, I swear she's just a convenience. She's just there to hype up this personality-less girl who is tall and model gorgeous. Like, anyway, that was a tangent, but, like, I'm kind of salty about it. I'm also salty that they didn't make Jodie bi or, lesbian and, like, had those two hook up, because, like, they had more of a foundation than anyone else in that movie. Anyway, tangent. Final point about why I think Tall Girl fails and Lovely Complex succeeds. Lovely Complex is actually funny. Like, there are moments in Lovely Complex where I laugh out loud. I don't think I laughed watching Tall Girl. Like, I don't think Tall Girl was a comedy, but, like, I feel like they tried to make some points funny and it just kind of failed. But yeah, Lovely Complex is actually funny, and that in my book is far more of a win than Tall Girl. I do want to add some disclaimers, I guess, things to kind of take into consideration. Tall Girl is a movie, which means it has a lot more limited time to develop the characters and the relationships. And that's not much of an excuse, because movies have been doing that successfully for a very long time, so, like, that's kind of a crappy excuse, but it's also something to keep in mind, because Lovely Complex is a series that has multiple episodes. They can explore a lot more topics. They can go deeper into certain things. They can actually, like, really deep dive into the friendship and the issues and, what makes it a Lovely Complex, whereas Tall Girl is limited on time as well, and just by the nature of being a movie, it can't go as in-depth as a series can. Again, that's not much of an excuse, but it is something to keep in mind when comparing these two. Like, there's much more of an opportunity to explore everything in Lovely Complex because it is a series, whereas, like I've been saying over and over again, I'm basically just reiterating at this point, but Tall Girl is limited in its time. But yeah, that is why I think Lovely Complex is Tall Girl done right. Again, I don't care if you don't think that Lovely Complex isn't the best anime in the world, because it's the best one for me. It is my absolute favorite. I could sing its praises forever. In fact, I really want to watch it now. I'm just like, maybe I'll watch Lovely Complex later. But yeah, if you've seen any reviews or even watched Tall Girl yourself, it's like, I'm 6'1" and I wear size 13s. Men's. Okay, people are dying, Jody. It's not it's not the end of the world. But yeah, I really think Lovely Complex achieves what Tall Girl set out to do and failed. Because Tall Girl just kind of failed, especially like if you have the background that I did, where you came into watching Tall Girl already having Lovely Complex being your favorite anime, and like you've seen it multiple times. Like, it just, when you have your standard as Lovely Complex and then you watch Tall Girl, and it's just like, okay, yeah, Tall Girl does not meet the mark. I don't think it meets the mark in terms of movies in general. Like, anyway. Yeah, again, from my preliminary and very brief research, this is not an original idea. A lot of people who've seen Lovely Complex and then watched Tall Girl had the same thoughts that I did, where Lovely Complex just actually achieves what Tall Girl's goals were. But anyway, this was my take on it. I went very much in depth into it, probably too much in depth. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Like, comment, share, subscribe, hit that bell button to be notified every single time I post. I was going to say boast, almost the same thing. Thank you guys so much for watching. I already said that. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Bye!